it hit me really early that we are marketing people, we're salespeople, and implied in that is a level of creativity, and maybe even, Sean, that since my background before sales and marketing was something very staffy, and how do I even push myself out of my own comfort zone? So any good marketing organization understands brand and theme. So if we, in what we do every single day is around brands and themes with our customers, then let's apply that to this organized event as well.
Rather than having the traditional staff meeting where you had people get up and do an hour presentation on each group, he blew that off from day one and just said, you know what, we're not going to do that. We do that, we have town hall meetings once a month. We know what's going on. So rather than do that, I think he wanted to inject some fun into it. It's really kind of like a mental health break.
To really understand someone is to understand their values, and is to understand they're human. And so I think a lot of the things we do at the IP staff meetings are reinforcing our values as a company, reinforcing our individual values, but also getting just a little bit goofy, because there's something very freeing about that, about not having to be perfect. And it makes you more human and more accessible to your teammates.
I think my favorite part of the IP staff meeting is when Dave would ask for volunteers for the following year to lead the effort, and immediately everybody's eyes went down to the ground. And he always knew the new people in the room because they'd keep staring at Dave, and sure enough, they'd lead the planning committee the next year.
I think it was just a general theme. I mean, when we looked at the energy breaks and the team building and the competitions in the evening, I always had the impression that Dave liked to set up the team so that he had a high degree of probability to win.
Dave was able to create an environment where you can pull people out of their comfort zone and get them to do things they wouldn't normally do on their own. At the other end of the spectrum, we had people that would do just about anything. I was trying to make sure that we weren't going over the limit. But somewhere in between, you were able to get everybody to realize that they're learning something about themselves or something about somebody else, and all that we're able to get everybody to see that the IP as a whole was much stronger and bigger as a group than it was as all those individuals.
And I always thought it was Dave really wanted to celebrate success. And he wanted an opportunity to bring all of the people from the field that work for him, because his organization's got the most people in the field, I think, from a marketing standpoint. It was just an opportunity to get everybody together, to network, work together, solve problems. And multi-day was just about giving back to the community.
So again, I'll go back to my own life and career, Sean, and probably not having the confidence at a certain stage of my career to get up and put myself out there. And I'm seeing people that I know are challenged by doing things outside their comfort zone, and so when I see people get up there and be confident, because then, Sean, that's what we do on a day-to-day basis, right? We go into new situations, we go in with senior leaders, we go with customers that we don't know and are put out there, and we have to show confidence. And so I think it's all part of the learning process.
It gives him the opportunity to meet with everybody individually and to express his genuine appreciation for everything we all do.
I think Dave wants IP to be a fun place to work. I think another tenet is that it's a leadership opportunity for new people.
It seems like it was just yesterday when we were starting this process, and it goes by so fast.
And I would say that the difference in being on a committee versus leading, you have to take so much more of a step back and just listen and have ideas brought to you and trust and know that everything's going to work out. And I think it's when you've done and led committees before, it's almost hard to just let go. And I think that's probably the most challenging part, is being like, it's all going to work out, it's going to be okay, they're going to get it done and it's going to work.
And so it became not only more of a celebration of the whole team, but it became this opportunity for sales managers to learn how to manage things. And so really, it's just gotten every year, I think, better and better in terms of the benefits people get from going to it.
Somebody said to me once, well, Dave, you just want us to get up and humiliate ourselves. And I said, no, it's not about humiliation, but I think there's a big part of it is humility. And being part of a team and getting up there and exposing yourself in a way to a group that won't be critical. But again, I think humility is a really big, important thing for our leaders and our people.
Promoting us to be outside of our comfort zone in the staff meeting, it better prepared us when we went out and we were sitting in front of customers.
And he gets out of his comfort zone, I think, too. So it's nice to see him vulnerable, and everybody can see that he's just a real human being like everybody else.
But I remember in one of the videos that was made when Dave, right shortly after the movie Titanic was made, and Dave got on the end of the business card and leaned forward and screamed out that he was the king of the world.
I think that moment, in that chair, of course, we were all having a great time. If I remember the question correctly, it's what would you have told your younger self? What has happened in your life that you didn't anticipate that you would have told your younger self? And I think what I said is, I don't think I ever would have anticipated as a young person that I was going to go through a battle with breast cancer. And then I think I went on to say, to tell my younger self that I would make it through that battle. But the other thing is, I think if you talk to someone about going through a battle like that and you're working full time, it would be hard for someone to believe that your boss would come to you. Dave Guerin specifically came to me and said, Karen, if you want to go to MD Anderson or wherever you want to go, we will support you wherever you want to go. And fortunately, I'd found a doctor in Dallas that I felt very confident was going to take care of things, and so it worked out so that I could have my treatment and still come to work. That moment for me was a way of thanking the team that had become known as the BNSF Silent Army, the army of people around me that had gone, people who had gone before me in this battle, the people who would follow me. There are many women today following me in this battle, and a whole group of people who were never to experience this, that were vicariously experiencing it through me and praying and supporting me. And now that you bring that moment up, that I suppose that was probably personally one of the most meaningful times at the IP staff meeting in my 3 years.
Co-workers.
The Dennis Smith Fade.
Hair bands.
Sweet Home Alabama.
The Blues Brothers.
Lip sync, is that one word?
Karaoke. Entertainment.
Karaoke for sure.
Karaoke.
Karaoke, of course.
Karaoke.
Karaoke.
Obviously, it's karaoke. By introducing karaoke, it was a good way for people to get up there and have fun, let their hair down, and not even be judged. Not worried about being judged. Just have a lot of fun, and everybody did it. So I think that was, whoever thought of that was a little bit of genius. Absolutely.
First staff conference. I hadn't been in IP very long. And Dave asked me what song I was going to sing at karaoke. And I kind of laughed and then realized real quickly that it wasn't a joke.
Tim Williams, Steve McCrory, Bill Faust, and I did Bohemian Rhapsody. And it was completely spontaneous despite accusations otherwise.
There were folks that you would never have guessed had a beautiful voice, never have guessed had a desire to do something like that, and never have guessed would have actually done it. And to see all of those, it was just interesting.
But I do think when the lip sync component of the evening activity started was really when Dave hit his full stride in the industrial products staff conference.
Dave dancing at the staff meeting, and it is the first time I ever can remember Dave actually dancing up there with the group, and so I remember that, and I thought that was so cool.
I heard him singing the Leonard Skinner. I thought I was going to fall out of my chair. I couldn't believe it.
Sweet Home Alabama. That was memorable.
You remember that Richard Miller was our lead singer, and that Angela and I and Teresa were the backup Ben Baton.
Casino night, so you had a bunch of people in there. It was packed and it was loud. and somebody started singing karaoke, and it was Mary Diggs doing Proud Mary. And I remember the whole crowd just stopped what they were doing and spun around and watched this happen.
I remember the year that they made the Flat Stanleys of us, and unbeknownst to us, we had traveled around the world.
So when we started the emerging growth team, and you know, for those who remember the video, Dave and George and Dennis are sitting at the table, and George says, "Dave, what's going on?" And all of a sudden, this thing starts growing up out of his neck, and then all of a sudden pops up Larry Ruppel's head on one side and my head on the other. And we're just bobbling our heads, and so that's started emerging growth. But what people don't know is when we shot that video, right after we got done with that, we're getting ready to leave, and we had to use a water balloon to simulate the growth, right? And then they superimposed our faces over that. Well, after we got done, Dave was getting ready to take the balloon off, and it busted all over his shirt. And let's just say he had a few choice words, and wouldn't have been that bad except for he had a meeting in downtown Fort Worth later on that evening.
Just one other memory that I cannot ever erase from my head was when Steve McCrory was the emerging growth and came out of Larry Ruppel's shoulder. That was just a unforgettable vision that unfortunately I have not been able to erase from my mind.
I remember one of the sessions, we were doing an energy break, and there were 2 or 3 of us on the stage leading this energy break, and it was yoga. And Dave, the whole group got up, and afterwards I remember Dave saying, "Wow, that's harder than it looks."
You know, when you die and your life flashes before you, that moment when Dave Guerin and Tom Williams came out and did the Soul Man routine, it's going to flash before my eyes.
I found myself alone in one of the business cars as one of Charlie's Angels with Frank Colby. There's probably some film clips out there somewhere of Frank in a Farrah Fawcett wig, and me looking over there, and it was an odd place where you found that you were an attraction to Frank, not because he looked good, because he was more uncomfortable than I was.
A big part of this corporation's values is giving back to the communities. So the thought was, how do we then tie back giving back to the communities to being good teammates? And so the idea was, let's look for some ways to do that. You know, Fort Worth, Day of Caring, United Way, there are a lot of really needy people and organizations, so it worked out perfect because number one, it was a good way to get everyone together. 2, our people really, really like to work hard. They like to give back, and they got more out of painting a house than they would have going out and doing a fun game with somebody, right? Because they felt like they were giving back at the same time as they were doing something together, and from there it snowballed. And I think it's probably a core part of the staff conference now. In fact, some of the other organizations, I think Katie now does a Day of Caring, and we all give so much by writing checks and doing things, but giving our time is really, really important.
My team, when we went to Kansas City, we got to volunteer at the Winter Special Olympics. And that was probably one of the most amazing things I've ever done in my life, just to see these athletes out there competing like any other athlete and with the same will and determination to win as any other athlete, but they cared so much about the people that were helping. And they made sure, there was hugs everywhere, people making sure that they said thank you and please. It was just amazing. But the thing that touched my heart the most was there were 2 blind skiers. And to see those 2, and they were 2 young ladies, and to see those young ladies ski down the hill with their coaches flawlessly, it almost brought tears to your eyes. So I think that's the thing that has had the most impact on me in terms of the Day of Caring.
Big organizations can do big things. Individuals can do big things too, but when you have a group together, that you can touch so many different parts of the community in so many different ways. I've been parts, cleaning up a warehouse to, building a floor in a home. We've done everything from big to small, and it's good to see other people whose passion shows through.
I never feel better as an employee of BNSF that when I'm out in Fort Worth working on a project, at how grateful people are and how much they appreciate the work we do in the community.
And I think it's just important to give back. So being able to do it on this level, this scale is huge.
I would say I really enjoyed the Ronald McDonald team for the families. I learned a lot about the organization, and I felt like I could actually contribute. I wasn't as slow as I am putting siding on the side of a house.
The planning team found out there was this old lady who lived in downtown Fort Worth that her house had been condemned, and she was going to have to leave, and she didn't have any family. And so what we did, we went there on a day, and the whole team went just to her house, and we scraped paint off her garage, we straightened her garage, we repainted the whole house, installed some new doors, and did some other needed maintenance projects. And as a result of our day there, she didn't have to move. They stopped the condemnation of the house. The lady was able to live, there as long as she wanted. So I mean, that was just a really good one.
We had probably 30 or 40 people there, and we were mowing the lawn, cutting bushes, painting the building, building stuff, and the whole team was there. And it could go from mowing or cutting or painting, and that was, to me, really, you could just see how we came in there, we transformed that place in a day.
It's really important to get to see your teammates, and they are family members, and that's why I love the work-life pictures. I mean, they always still bring a tear to my eye because I get to see how people have grown up, and their kids have gotten married, they've had children, and what's happened to them. I just think that's a big part of who we are.
You're out there wherever you're at, but you still feel like you're a part of a close-knit family because you get to come in. It's your reunion every year. That's your family reunion. And when you don't see those people for a year, and you get to see them, you get to talk to them and find out what's going on in their lives outside of work. It's a time to catch up, and it does create that sense of family. And when you know you have your family behind you, it's easier for you to go out and tackle whatever you need to tackle.
I think Dave takes risks on people, and I think, and even the staff meetings could have been a risk, but they've been very successful over the years, and I owe a lot to Dave.
No, just continue to enjoy the journey. I think that's part of the message around the staff meeting. We get one chance to live on Earth, and to think that we all get a chance to spend roughly a third of our lives with one another. Just enjoy the journey.
The first staff meeting after 9/11 in April of 2002 was a powerful one. We had a speaker there, and I think Dave just has an ability to put his finger on the pulse of what's going on and the way people feel. And the guy that came in and spoke was eloquent and powerful. I don't remember his name. I'm sure Dave might be able to pull it out. But I would say that was very poignant and powerful, and I think it had a good impact a strong impact on everybody that was there.
The IP team itself is a special place, and it's a special group of people. I think Dave had a lot to do with making that happen, and I think that the fact that it felt like a family, and you felt like everybody had your back. I mean, that's a really, really valuable thing to have in an organization. I think that the staff meeting that Dave carried is just a small example of that.
Greatest IP staff closer, I'm pretty sure it was a little after midnight, and we were all in a circle with our hands on each other's shoulders, singing "We Are the Champions of the World." And for a moment, we really were.
I just hope this one is really special.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. tattoos and memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of